your love for gaming. The first console that I ever had, it was handheld. It was the Game Boy Advanced SP. It was gifted to me for Christmas by my mother, and she pulled out something with three different games on it and said, "Hey, I need you to pick which one you want." And I don't know what one of the options were, but the other two were Zelda and Pokemon Ruby. Now, I didn't really know what Zelda was, so I was like, no, 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 I don't want that. I don't know what it is. But I do know Pokemon. Pokemon Ruby, hands down, ignited my love for gaming. I was lucky because growing up, I had access to several different types of consoles. I remember sometime down the line in my childhood, my grandparents were at an estate sale and they managed to score six different consoles. It was the Nintendo 64, the PS1, and there were like three of each. So that was a really nice gift from the grandparents to all us grandkids. I grew up with games like Mario, Digimon Rumble Arena, Gex. Gex was a personal favorite, and I have very cherished memories of my mother and I playing Miss Pac Man World. I always grew up realizing that I gamed a lot, but it wasn't until recently when I decided to start this series that I really sat down and combed through the memories and just how much games have shaped my life as a player. And over the years, I have played with things like Unity, RPG Maker, and several other things to make my own video games because I wanted to create things that brought me joy, like what I grew up with. It really is amazing to me how much the gaming industry has grown since I was a kid. And, there's upsides and downsides to that. The upsides I feel like are, and this is all personal opinion, that the games are more accessible now in many different ways, not just in features, they're more inclusive, so people that have physical disabilities can game more. But also, the affordability. Games growing up used to be really expensive, and I feel like we are getting back to that point. But especially with indie games, you can find some real hidden gems for good prices. On the flip side of the coin, however, I also feel like indie game developers are getting overshadowed just because the gaming industry has gotten so large that AAA games and everything on that level are smothering indie creators. The Steam platform used to have Steam Greenlight, where you could pitch your game, and if the community agreed on it, you would be able to upload your game to the platform. Nowadays, you have to spend $100. You have to have a EIN, IRS registered business, and a business bank account. Now, there are a multitude of reasons why that's a good and a bad thing. The point that not everybody can afford to spend $100, especially if it is just you and you're starting out with bare bones. My goal with Indie Game Spotlight is to support these creators. I'm not asking for money, I'm not asking for free copies of games. I'm simply asking for what they have available to the general public so I can take a look, form an opinion, and share it with you guys. With places like Itch and Game Jolt, it can be a little difficult finding a really good indie game that suits your style. And maybe, just maybe, one of the games that I review will be the hidden gem you were always looking for. My name is Uni, and welcome to the Indie Game Spotlight. You worked hard on this project. It's your indie game's time to shine.